Welcome to Married to the Boss.
Let's go.
Okay. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us again. We are in week 13, or episode 13.
Episode 13. Could be week 13.
No, it's not week 13 because we skipped a week.
Oh, we skipped a week.
So, sorry about that. It's episode 13, or the next episode. Numbers don't matter.
Yeah. Only on a financial statement.
That's very true, very true. But this week we're going to be talking about hiring and managing employees.
Not one of my favorite topics, but we're going to really run with this one.
Well, we kind of have to talk about that because we all hope when we are starting out to get to the point where you can hire people.
And let me tell you why it's not one of my favorite, because when you're an entrepreneur and you're so busy, it's time consuming to hire, not so much manage employees. That's going to always be there. That's a part of business. But the hiring process, the interviewing process, it's overwhelming.
It is. And for me personally, because I'm in a high technical environment, oh my goodness, it doesn't end there. The training following that.
It's a little painful.
And it's constant. Not that I'm complaining. I love the field that I'm in, but it is a lot of work.
It is.
And it takes years. Well, at least in my world, it takes
I don't
years.
think you ever really get it down because everybody's so different.
Yeah, that's very, very true. So when we are hiring and managing employees, what is the best practices or the most efficient approach to hiring and managing employees? I can get us started. I can make it short and sweet, or you can get us started and you can just dive into the details.
I say you make it short and sweet.
I like short and sweet. I was hoping you were going to say that.
I might just sit here and just stare at you the whole time. Yeah.
I may not want to say another word after that one, but okay. First, when you are hiring employees, it's important to make sure that you find someone that has the right background to fill that role, whatever that role is. And there's a couple of ways that you can do that in order to make sure that the person's background is a good match. You want to make sure that you always do a my goodness, you would think that I would remember the name of the word. Reference check, yes. Ask for references and follow up on those references. And when you do follow up on those references, make sure that you ask questions that obviously are specific to the role or the job that you're hiring for, so you can get an idea if this person actually is able to carry out the job that you are trying to fill. It's better to find out through the references whether the person can do the job for you or not than it is to find out once they're inside your company. You're going to save yourself a lot more time and avoid a lot of frustration. The other thing too is you want to make sure that you hire someone that's got the right skill set for the job. Of course, when I say skill set, for me that means that there's soft skills and there's hard skills, and there's also the third component of that, and that is how does that person apply their soft skills and their hard skills in order to make it all work and bring value to the company. The hard skills are the simplest ones to ascertain. The hard skills are the exact, they're related to the actual job. For example, I work in tech, so programming is a good example of that. I would be looking specifically for somebody that may program in a certain environment. And of course, that's easy to identify through discussions, talking points, and also assessing by having them do some exercises for us. I'm not going to get into it, but anyways, that's the point. The point is, if you're hiring a plumber, you would make sure that plumber is able to go through a situation, and obviously that's easy to assess. The second thing that's not so easy to assess is the soft skills, and the soft skills are related around maybe communication. Can they write an email? In corporate, you want to make sure that they're able to write an email, not just something that's cryptic because they're so used to talking through short messaging like Snapchat, Messenger, you name it. So the soft skills, those are the more difficult to ascertain without actually spending more time with that candidate. And of course, the last one is their aptitude, their ability to apply those soft skills and the hard skills into bringing value to the company. And that unfortunately comes with experience. You're not going to be able to determine that unless the person has the experience that can be validated to support the fact that this person can do the job. That's actually more important when you're hiring somebody for management or somebody in a supervisor role or somebody that would be leading a project or leading a team. That's when that would be important. And of course, let's say one other thing is temperament. The last thing I want to leave is temperament. That's important for me personally because, and I don't know if you're going to touch on this, but to me, personality is important. So temperament, aka personality, is key because that's going to impact or affect the culture of your company.
Yeah, I think that's a good segue into what I was going to say about culture. You know, that was our number one priority. Still is. Mm-hmm. It's got to be the right culture fit. It's to the point where you're going to interview people and they're going to come in with let's say, a lot of experience.
Yeah.
But if that personality does not fit in our culture, we turned away more people than I care to even bring up. I mean, great on paper.
Right.
Awesome could experience. Have the best references in the world.
Best skill set.
But if it was going to mess up our culture, we didn't hire them.
That's right.
So it's very, that needs to be a focus if you have a culture. I mean, our culture was really pretty simple. As entrepreneurs starting a business, you know, what you see here is what you get. You know, there's not like we get off of camera and we just turn into different people. This is how we are even in our business. This is how we interact with our employees. And we do kid around a little bit. You know, we used to do cookouts every Friday, or we would have, you know, free snacks, free water, free sodas. We did all kinds of things, but it didn't cost them anything for, candy. Those bars. What are those?
Not the
candy bars, but like the health bars, and we encourage them to stay healthy and all. That was our culture. Mm-hmm. So that's really, really, you know, important.
Well, and our culture even today.
It is.
We just happen to be doing it.
And what happens, what we found with that is that, I mean, it definitely, the job satisfaction, the way they feel about their job, and the way we even feel about them. The way we looked at having staff is that we have to like them, they've got to like us. Right. We got to get along with them, they got to get along with us. They've got to be able to produce for us, and we have to produce for them, right? Mm-hmm. So those are the things that, so they perform better. And then the last thing is the loyalty. The loyalty that we had with our staff was crazy good. I mean, we've both worked in corporations, and you see people like a revolving door. We just didn't have that in our company because we treated them really like family.
Very true.
So with that culture was the only thing really that you ended with that I wanted to kind of talk a little bit more about.
Okay. So did you want to add any more, or?
Yeah, I would.
Call it a day.
Well, we could, but.
No, we could get started with our night.
It's up to her. We'd have anniversary every week.
Yes.
So I would say that as an entrepreneur, you have to lead by example. I mean, I've seen too much, been around too much to shake my head more than I would give a compliment to a business owner about leading their staff. And if you have to lead by example. I mean, you're responsible. It's your company. Mm-hmm. So you've got to do the training. Mm-hmm. It's like you have to do the training on the tech side. I do training on the sales and the marketing side, or the business development side, whatever it may be. You got to be mentoring. Oh,
I'm so glad you said that.
And mentoring, because if you're not mentoring them, two things happen there. One, they learn from you. They want to learn from you. They want to grow in their position, their career. But yeah, I mean, it's so important that they feel that. I hate to say feel the love, because I don't mean it like it sounds, but they have to feel that love coming from the owner.
Yeah.
As the owner, you know more about the company and your product than anybody that you hire. And it will probably always be that way. At least it should be that way. And so, and the last thing is communication. The communication's got to happen on a regular basis. And we talked about communication between us as a couple. With staff, The communication never stops. If you go a day without communicating to your staff, that's a no-no in my opinion. And that doesn't mean that you go in and say, okay, you get this done. I'm not talking about that communication. I'm just, treat them like family.
Mm-hmm.
That type of communication, and that's what's going to keep your staff around. If you want them to stay around. Now, if you don't want them to stay around, don't do anything that I just said. Don't train them, don't mentor them, and don't communicate. And they'll leave.
Just throw them in the corner, or just throw them some water. And,
right, they'll leave. Yeah, instead of them getting health bars and sodas, just give them bread and water.
Or a PB&J sandwich.
Right. We never really got into that with anybody. We just we really got along with our staff well.
Well, that's because we invested a lot of time in the hiring process.
Yeah, we did.
We vetted so many people.
Yep.
And we vetted them, as I mentioned earlier, it's easy to assess the skill sets in regards to hard skills and the soft skills, but what's difficult is the personality fit.
Yep.
And so we spent a lot of time doing that, and we would interview people an average of 3 times just so we could ascertain their personality and the fit into our culture.
Even with 3 different people. I mean, I'm not techie, and she had me interviewing the techie because I wasn't asking questions about software, hardware, anything else.
To do with the job.
I'm just trying to figure out if I'm even going to like you.
Right.
Because I have to work with you every day. And an entrepreneur, you're in a small office. I mean, you're tight with everybody.
Right. And we also used to have them meet with the other departments as well. And not that they had anything to do, we had developers, programmers, engineers, you name it, who would meet with our marketing, they would meet with sales, obviously they would meet with the executive team.
Yeah.
There was a reason behind that. And the reason behind that was that for us, we put culture fit above and beyond anything else that they could bring to the table.
Yeah, and just to kind of finish on part of that, what I was mentioning before is that on the kind of going back to the mentoring part. I mean, when you hire somebody, we all say they got 90 days. Now, whether you incorporate, that's one thing, but in my eyes, everybody has got to show me something in 90 days, or just no hard feelings, go find another job, right? So that 90 days, you've got to determine if there's 2 things you have to determine. Are they a fit, which is the most important thing? Mm-hmm. And then, were they truthful on their resume, and do they have the expertise?
Yeah.
That has to be found within the 90 days, but you have 90 days to do that. To me, you have to allocate time every day for the first 30 days that they're with a company. I mean, I know how many times you were with your IT staff, and I don't know how many times I was with, my staff. And that's got to be a daily thing for the first 30 days because you've invested time, already a lot of time. The interview process, a lot of time. You've invested money, and really you're just hoping and praying that they're going to be successful, because the last thing you want to do is have to go through this again and go find somebody to replace the person that you just hired. That's why you hear it all the time. It's very expensive to hire people, to go through the process, to get them to do the job, to keep them. And then, after those first 30 days, you got to monitor for 60 days. That doesn't mean you're with them every day. That means maybe it's every week, but you're monitoring. You've got to be tracking and finding out if there's actually results that are being done.
Very good point. Very good point. So it's better to put all the effort and the work up front than to do it in the back end, because in the back end is not only expensive in time, it's expensive in money.
Yep. Yeah, money is going to hit you. It maybe not, hard cash, but it is hard cash.
Oh, it is hard cash. Yes.
I mean,
you have to let them go.
It's just not, and nobody wants to let people go either. Right. So there's a hardship there, and sorry it didn't work out. Have a nice day.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite sayings. Have a nice day, because the fact is that they've got probably a family, and you don't want to interrupt that.
Sure.
So the mentoring piece of it, to me, after you get them on board, it's just so important, because they just don't know your company, and they really don't know your product. They want to.
Yeah, that's why we always hired. When we hired for a long-term commitment, and anyone that ever got hired by us had that understanding that this was not a short-term stay. This was a long-term stay, with the understanding that it was going to be a two-way growth from a skill set and development, personal development, professional development, and we just make sure that they knew that it was going to be worth their while to give us a shot, just as we were hoping that they would give us a shot, and we would give them a shot at the job.
And the people that worked for us, they knew that. I mean, when they worked for us, versus comparing that to another company, another corporation, the mentoring was there, the communication was there, the training was there, all that was available to them. And they appreciated that because they didn't get that. They may have been thrown into a cubicle at the other company. Mm-hmm. They may have been just thrown a bunch of papers and say, okay, let's start here, with really no formal training. And it's from a small business entrepreneur couple, you've got to put that time into them. And I'll end on this. Your goal is to improve business practices within your company.
That's right.
Right? So you have the new staff, you're improving your business practices as the owners, definitely the business practices of the staff, called team. All that has to come together as team. You have to keep employees informed and focused, mm-hmm. right? If you got employees like this, good luck. I mean, you're going to have a hard time getting things done because most people can't multitask. So, here's the focus, and let's get this done. And the last thing is, which to me is really, really important, is you're going to have errors and you're going to have delays. You're not going to meet certain timelines, and you're going to have mistakes.
Oh yeah, it's human to errors to be human.
But you're going to be reducing the delays and the errors, if you kind of follow what we're talking about.
Sure, yes. If you have a plan and a process in place to invest into your people.
Absolutely.
That's right, invest in your people. So I guess we will wrap it up.
Let's wrap it.
Wrap it, all right.
You start it, you wrap it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for joining us this week.
I can't say too much to her, or otherwise her mind goes,
it's his fault.
Someplace else, and we apologize for that.
Yes, I'm
in
sorry.
Advance and in the future.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
okay, so bye everybody.
Thank you very much.
That's this week's episode of Married to the Boss podcast.